Hello, parishioners of St. Mary of the Knobs. I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce myself. For those of you who have been unable to come to the Masses or come to the parish during this pandemic, my name is Anthony Armbruster. I am a seminarian for the Archdiocese of Indianapolis. I have been in seminary formation for 2 years. I just finished my pre-theology program at St. Meinrad, which is the program that you do before you enter the Masters of Divinity program, which is like the final degree program before ordination. And I have been assigned here this summer for my summer assignment. And I want to take this opportunity via webcam to introduce myself, to share a little bit about me, and also how I've got to this point in my life in discerning priesthood. And I also want to invite you to please reach out to me in any way that you feel free to, by email, because I want to get to know you in this time that I'm here. And I hope that you will please keep praying for me and all seminarians during this time, especially during this time with the uncertainties of the virus, and most especially what the church will look like coming out on the other side of it. So to begin, I am from Brownsburg, Indiana. It is about 20 minutes or so from downtown Indianapolis on the west side. Excuse me. So I am about 2 hours away from home. I live and have grown up in Brownsburg. My home parish is St. Malachy in Brownsburg. Little interesting fact about St. Malachy: the same architects who designed your beautiful new church in 2012 were the same ones who designed St. Malachy and built us our new church in 2018 and in 2008. And it's really there that I felt God kind of introducing to me the idea of priesthood. I entered. Whoops, not that. Excuse me. I've been a part of St. Malachy my entire life. I was baptized, received First Communion, was confirmed. And during that time, I had some really good priests who really kind of helped explain the idea of priesthood to me, especially during my childhood. My childhood pastor was a very, very kind, very spiritual, and also just very pastoral in the sense of how present he was to his people. And I remember growing up, he was kind of very open and talked to me a little bit about priesthood, and it was something that I have really thought about my entire life. Also, my family, I come from two large families. My mother's family is native of Brownsburg, and they have been a big farming family since the mid 1800s. And I had just some great family, two wonderful grandparents who have since passed, who really taught me the faith and really what it meant to be a follower of Christ, which, if I learn any lessons from them, it's just how to love your family and to love the people that are important to you, and to most importantly just cherish every moment you have with them. And that's especially what I learned from them going through losing them. My mom, as we called her, died in June of 2017. It'll actually be June 6th this year, be 3 years. And my papaw, her husband, died on January 1st, 2019, the feast of Mary, Mother of God. And those two were very great examples of what it meant to live your vocation. And I felt they were a very wonderful influence. And my dad's family is from the south side of Indianapolis. My grandmother is still living, my grandma Armbruster, and she is actually a Jansen. And I've come to learn that there are quite a bit of Jansens down here in southern Indiana. Her name is Ann Armbruster. So she was originally Ann Jansen before she married. Her uncle, who I never got to meet, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to. His name is Monsignor James Jansen, which some people have already told me that they knew him very well because he was a priest in Jeffersonville, very much beloved by his community. And while I never knew him, I remember always seeing a picture of him at my grandma's house, and she always had his chalice on her buffet. She was able to have his chalice. Um, Now it has been refurbished and is with a priest in the archdiocese, and it continues to be used as a sacred vessel. I also, my grandpa, who I never met, he died in 1987 in a car crash, and I was born in 1996, so I was never able to meet him, sadly. But he had one of his oldest brother, the oldest in the family. His name was Father Julius Armbruster, and he was a Benedictine priest from St. Meinrad, and he actually helped construct a sister abbey out in South Dakota called Blue Cloud Abbey. And that is actually where he spent the rest of his life, and he died out there in October of 2007. And Father Julius, I think, was one of the greatest influences I had growing up, because there were a few times we went out there to visit him. And I remember the idea of especially community life in the monastery was very interesting. I always loved praying with the monks, going to mass with them, eating with them. It was always weird when they would eat in silence, but it was also very peaceful. And really, that was just the thing I felt the most when I'd go visit him, is the sense of peace. And I would encourage any of you who are watching this, if you've never been to a monastery, to go about an hour down the road to St. Meinrad Archabbey. And that's where I am currently in seminary. But to go there is a very peaceful place. And hopefully, once the restrictions from this virus lift and St. Meinrad allows guests again, I would highly encourage you, if you've never been, to make it a day trip to go and visit that holy hill and to see what peace is there. So back a little bit about my life. Father Julius was a very important person who really kind of showed me what it meant to be a priest. And if anything, he showed me the importance of prayer. So kind of coming back a little bit, I was born and raised in Brownsburg. I went to Catholic school my entire life. I started in kindergarten at St. Malachy, went all the way to 8th grade. And again, the school was very good about, flourishing and kind of supporting vocations. I remember I really didn't begin thinking of it until probably my first communion in 2nd grade. And I remember, as I continued on in my grades, people were telling me, it's like, you should really think of becoming a priest, even at a very young age. And it was an idea that was very interesting, and something that I really thought about and actually saw myself doing. Like most kids who are Catholic, I would do, pretend masses as a kid. Would even go so far as relatives make me little custom vestments, and and I was always, it just always seemed something that would be so cool to do, would be a priest. And that whole idea, that my discernment, of the vocation to priesthood, really continued all the way into high school. I attended Cardinal Ritter High School, which is a deanery high school in the West Deanery of Indianapolis. The Archdiocese has, around the city of Indianapolis, there are 4 high schools in the 4 different deaneries of Indianapolis. So mine was on the west side. And there again, that was another place that really helped foster my vocation. My freshman and sophomore year, I was continuing and thinking that, yes, this is what I want to be. I want to be a priest. The chaplain we had at the time was Father John Hollowell. I don't know if many of you have heard that name or not, but it was as he had just been ordained, he was made chaplain of Cardinal Ritter, and he was, just a very, holy man, very supportive, always present. That's another thing too. Father Hollowell really showed me what presence is when he was chaplain at Cardinal Ritter. And during that time, I was serving masses and I was really thinking this is what I want to do. Also, during that time, I became very fascinated with technology. As if any of you read my bio in the bulletin last or before I came here, you might have seen that I have a degree in it's called Computer Information Technology, or IT. And it was in high school that I really became interested in technology. I joined this class that basically acted like the technology support for the school. How this worked was for the class period, you would report to kind of the IT director's office, and he would give you little simple jobs to do. And if there wasn't jobs, you would kind of work on projects and little detailed things. And I really enjoyed doing that. I really enjoyed working with computers. It even went so far as to me building a computer for my parents. They trusted me enough to spend quite a bit of money to get a kit that I could build them a new computer. And it still runs even to this day. That was, 6 to 8 years ago, and the computer still runs. And it's one of the things I'm really proud of that I was able to do. And it was really during that time that my direction kind of changed. I decided that, what, maybe there is something to this, being in technology. Also during that time, this was in 2012, in the mid 2010s, and so really the possibility of making computers and technology career was a wide open, market. There was always someone was always going to need technology help. And come junior year, that was something I kind of made a switch from priesthood to IT. And it wasn't that I stopped, wanting to be a priest. I just thought, what, maybe I should do this because it was something that really interested me. So, senior year, I graduated from Cardinal Ritter and I went to IUPY, um, which is a college campus kind of mixed up between IU and Purdue, in Indianapolis. This allowed me to be a commuter student, so I was able to go to school, go to classes, and then to live at home to kind of save some money there. Didn't have to do room and board for college. And in 4 years, I got my degree in my bachelor's degree in computer information technology. And it was during those 4 years that I kind of had another change. Um, my entering my junior year of college, I began my first real technology job. I worked for a Catholic grade school on the north side of Indianapolis in the Archdiocese, called St. Thomas Aquinas. And they are on the north side, a little bit by the governor's mansion, coming up there on Meridian Street. And it was there that I really kind of had my first taste of what it meant to be an IT director person. And I always wanted to work in a school. I love working in schools. I loved working with teachers. I think teachers are some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. And especially there, I have, even to this day, a few relationships that I've maintained from that job because they were such good people. And they were really there for me in some of the hardest times. Also during that time I was there was when my grandmother died and some other family issues, and also just trying to discern what I was called to do. And it was really in 2017 as I was getting ready to finish my junior year, going into my senior year, my final year of college, I began to ask, is this really what I want to do? Be in technology. And almost out of nowhere, the idea of priesthood just came right back in, and it was a very powerful call. Like it was almost just, it wouldn't go away. It was about a month that it was just on my mind the whole time. And I felt like, there's a genuine call here. So the first person I talked to was the pastor I worked under at St. Thomas, who happened to be a really good friend of mine. We got to know him from being associate pastor at St. Malachy, and he became pastor at St. Thomas. Very good man. And, him and we talked, and, he thinks, there might be a vocation there. And I talked to my pastor at the time at St. Malachy, and I think there came to a mutual agreement that this is something I need to pursue. So it was in October of 2017, yes, that the dates get all jumbled in my head, that I officially contacted the Archdiocese and declared to them my interest. And I met with at the time, Vocations director. He's now the director of Seminarians, Father Eric Augustine, to, kind of tell him where I was. And he also agreed that there is, possible vocation here. And I went through the whole process. And I think one of my videos I'd like to share with you the whole seminary application process. It's a very intensive and lengthy process. And I even had a meeting with the Archbishop, and that was a very interesting meeting. I had never met him before. And finally, it was about in June of 2018 that I was officially accepted as a seminarian, and I got accepted to St. Meinrad. The plan was to graduate from IUPUI and get my bachelor's in IT. So I had that degree because the kind of the thought is, if I'm not called to priesthood, that's something that I could go back to. So here I am. I entered St. Meinrad Seminary in August of 2018, and I love it there. St. Meinrad is such a wonderful place. I think in one of my videos I will discuss, what the day in the life of the seminarian is like. Also discussing what St. Meinrad is like. It's a very beautiful place and has really helped me grow as a person. And this was definitely a hard year on everybody. We had to leave in March because of the coronavirus. A lot of deacons who were going to be ordained priests sadly had to lose 8 weeks that they were going to be able to spend together. And all the things that came with graduating and preparing for ordination as a class were, gone. And it was a very sad thing to be able to leave. And I'm really excited about returning again in the fall to begin my theology program, because I graduated this year in May with the term is called Masters of Catholic Philosophical Studies. So by the end of the seminary process, I'll have 2 degrees that is just to prepare you for the priesthood, which, one of the things is educating and teaching the people about the faith. So I want to wrap up this video. I want to thank you for taking your time to watch this and to get to know me a little bit. Again, as I said at the beginning, please feel free to email me with questions. I hope to make these videos every week. And also I'll be at the masses. I'm pretty hard to miss, as I'm sure many of you have noticed. I'm about a 6'8" person, and so I'm pretty tall, hard to miss. And I will hopefully get to meet all of you and get to continue to build relationships. And the parish continues to help me as I progress in seminary formation. So again, thank you so much for your time. Have a blessed day, and God bless.